And Alexander Smith? What's about Alexander Smith?
Wait, Alexander was the previous location, Daly House too.
Would you like this?
Thank you. Are we connecting to a bunch of stuff here?
Sorry, I keep
So
reading.
would
You
Jacob
should,
Smith,
send it to me. Yeah.
given the era, would Jacob Smith have spoken English fluently?
I feel like that's debatable depending on whereabouts it is. Some people, like even in the north, some people are still fluent because they don't have touch with. It really just depends.
So basically, to catch you up, we had our research department managed to track down a Jacob Smith that lived in this area in the 1800s, but seemed very, very fluent in English. So we're debating now if contact or pre-contact, where are we at?
1800s.
How fluent would he have been in English?
Well, I mean, his name is Jacob Smith.
Very
That's
true.
a good telling, right? That they've changed his name now. They've given him basically a Euro-Canadian last name. That's assuming that it's English, right?
Do you want to try to reach back out? There's lots of electronics in here, though.
Yeah,
so
that's what's tough about this.
This is a bit of a challenge, but I mean, it's worth a shot. We'll see what we can do. We'd like to communicate with Jacob Smith again. Maybe try speaking to him in Cree.
Tansei Jacob.
Tansei.
Tansei Jacob
Namaya
awan
Mentau.
na chika sun. Tantigua. Jacob Smith, he would have got a church name because the church was established here in the 1800s, mid 1800s. Selkirk, Selkirk was a fort at first.
Yeah.
Because they did make treaty with Selkirk, Lord Selkirk, and that was part of HBC. And then when that fell apart, and then the lands were sold, and treaties were broken, and then the people, they were called Peguis, right? Peguis, yeah. They were living here. Then they were moved to where they are now, which is about almost 100 kilometers from here.
If he was displaced at one point, does he have a purpose for coming back? Would that be more of a draw for him?
Well, the spiritual draw would be the relatives that are left behind usually. So the ancestors that may have been buried here, whether it be at the church or whether they had any ancestral burial grounds along the river, because the river would be a good gathering spot for fishing, for harvesting, as well as for gathering places. The Red River here.
Now, what I think is interesting, and you said the river brought life, and I think it did at one point for the people that would have been along the bank. It unfortunately can also take life away. That's the sort of the duality of the water.
Well, I mean, it brought the boats of settlers as well, right? We have to think about that, and we can agree that the water brings life. It still does, actually, for some of our people up north. So they still do a ton of fishing for the livelihood of the community. Mm-hmm. But also at the same time, we have to remember the other side of that, which is, yeah, I mean, it did bring the displacement of First Nations people. So we got this duality, as you said, Jeff.
Given that close connection to water, I think for the men and women from the Suzanne, and potentially even for Jacob Smith. Alan, how do you feel about doing our ceremony by the water tomorrow for our closing?
Well, it would be the best place to do that because you have to give thanks to the water spirit, for both whatever it does for giving life. And then unfortunately life is taken, not by the water spirit in general, but by water. Because it did take the lives of these people and countless other lives as well too. Not just only these people, but others as well too. So that's what when we do water ceremony, we pray for those as well too. And we pray for safety, making sure that others don't come to their own demise in water.
Yeah, that's right. When I think about the Red River, it's hard for me to not associate it with MMIW, with Tina Fontaine, the girl who was, found in the Red River. There's constantly bodies that are found in that river, Indigenous women especially. So, it is that symbol of the river here it's sort of shrouded by this sense of these Indigenous issues, these Indigenous women whose lives are taken, not by the river necessarily, but by the forces of
Evil.
maliciousness, yes.
Evil.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we have to, I'm reminded of that, and I think it's important to speak, as if we are talking to a man named Jacob Smith, it's that narrative of Indigenous displacement and colonization and missing and murdered Indigenous women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that river hides a lot. Yeah, it hides a lot of people's evil doings, and unfortunately, the brunt of that is Indigenous women.